Okay. I had to okay the recording in process. My name is Ron. I'm an alcoholic, and it's good to be here. First time here at your group, really. I always wanted to come over here. I have some other commitments that distract me on a Tuesday night. But I said to Dave, Dave, is there a dress code there? He's like, oh, suit up and show up. I'm like, oh, my wife even said to me, where are you going tonight? I said, I got a Zoom meeting. She says, you getting dressed? I said, whatever. But I said to her, you know what? I really love getting dressed up, though. I don't know about you guys, but I never put a suit on unless I was going to court. And it's funny that we're on step 11, which I love. My home group is the Conscious Contact Speaker Group. And we suit up every Saturday night. And it's really a lot of fun, and it's beautiful. You know, we get to have what we call a transformation. And that's what these steps have done for me. You know, I'm not the person I was when I got here. You know, my sobriety date is April 15th of 1986. I had no idea of what this journey was about. I had no idea about anything. So hopefully I'm going to share a couple things tonight, my experience. It's really how I interpret this, especially after 35 years. It's changed so much. I don't know about you guys, but it seemed so incredibly hard when I got here and so complicated. And to find out it's so simple, you know, once I get out the other end and I get free and I look back on it, I'm like, my God, I created all my own. I am the source of the problem, right? So if I work on me, the amazing thing is the world transforms, you know. And to give you a little background to why I even have motivation to do this program, because I've come to realize that the most important requirements of this program is open-minded and willingness, a desire to seek recovery. And I was desperate enough, and I had been beaten enough by alcoholism that I had that desire. And I didn't think for a minute that I wasn't planning on staying here very long. I knew that I couldn't stay sober, and I knew I didn't want to be sober forever. You know, our book says, are you willing to quit for good and for all? Well, I don't know. I can't, because I cannot. I wish it was explained to me that if I apply the 12 steps and I follow the directions in the big book, it's the roadmap to contented sobriety, to freedom. And that simple direction sending me into the steps in the book with a reason for that. Okay, so I get physical separation. I get separated. Okay, I'm fighting a drink. I'm shooting for midnight like we all do, fighting every minute of this. But I have to get free, because I'm only going to be able to do that for X amount of time. And my first few rehabs, I had every intention. After 28 days, when they come out and they hand me a big book, they said, make a meeting, right? Okay, great. And I'd have that in my mind, but I lacked the power to do that. And by the end of the night, I was already drinking. So I knew I was the real deal alcoholic, that no matter how much knowledge, information, even whatever separation I had, I was going to drink again. I needed to drink when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. Today, I no longer need to drink. So how does that get me to step 11? And I first have to have a first step experience, right? I mean, I got to be beaten into submission to even be willing to consider any of this stuff. There's guys I get to sponsor, and their bottom, they haven't progressed enough in their alcoholism and suffered enough to get this motivation to go to any lengths, right? To be all in, to completely give themselves to this simple program, which we read in just about every meeting in Pennsylvania before the meeting. And so if you don't have that willingness and that drive, I can't do it. Anybody I sponsor, I always tell them, I'll just match your willingness. I love Dave. Dave's a guy that he's like a junkyard dog going after a recovery, man. He's a recovery mind. He listens to more talks than I've ever heard, which God bless him. I love that, you know, and that's few and far between. I'm always shocked when anybody does any work in here. But let's get back to this, what I'm supposed to be talking on here, step 11. And I always like to correlate the 12 and 12 a little bit with it, because right on page 96, it says prayer and meditation are our principal means of conscious contact with God. And why would I even want this conscious contact, right? Again, we talk about contented sobriety, emotional sobriety, right? I cannot go through life without fear and resentment without some type of power greater than myself to remove that fear and those resentments. I can wish them away all I want. I can say, Ron, just suck it up and be tough and be man. You know, like I'm not. I'm consumed with self and I'm afraid of everything. And my mind manufactures problems that I have no power over controlling it. Like, oh my God, I'm going to die. That's my favorite line. Everything is going to, oh my God, I'm going to die. I don't know about you guys, but I take everything to the umpteenth level. So what it's asking me to do here is to get this conscious contact, right? And if you listen to the wording of step 11, it says sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, right? But that word sought is an action word. I got to seek this, right? So that's really important. It talks about what we have in our program is a daily reprieve contingent upon the maintenance of my spiritual condition. So if I can get to a spiritual place and a place of freedom, I can navigate through life effortlessly and without the suffering. All my suffering is needless. I come to realize that, and I come to realize that all my resentments are manufactured from me, and all my fears come from me. So I need this power. I need this conscious contact. And what I do is I seek it, and I continue to seek it and pray, meditate, and I seek it until it becomes unconscious contact. Until I feel like I was out cutting my lawn today, and I'm like God's with me. I felt like that, you know. And the joke with me and my wife, she complains about my driving. And I say, listen, I don't think you realize, but I'm safe and protected. And then I look over to her, I go, but that ends right here. And she laughs. She actually told some nuns that, and they said, we're stealing that. But I truly feel safe and protected. And what that means is not that God is going to fix and just make my road, my path gold, what do they call that? Paved with gold and unicorns and butterflies and everything's going to go perfect. But what it means is that life on life's terms, I will be able to navigate and live with life on life's terms. Now, I shouldn't be enjoying life. Every day I wake up, it's my birthday, Christmas, and New Year's. Every day. It's amazing. Like from a person, I'm a suicide survivor. I'm a high school dropout, a convicted felon. I have learning disabilities. I've been shot, jailed, all these war stories, right? They beat the crap out of me enough to open up my ears enough to maybe even consider doing AA. But they don't make me an alcoholic. That inability to control the amount once I take it, and the inability to stay stopped, even though I knew it. And I've been behind bars where they said, listen, we're going to let you out. You don't have to do 5 years. Just give us 2 yards a month. I'd be like, yeah, sure. I'm not an idiot. I'll agree to that. What happens though, when they open that door, my keen alcoholic mind says 2 beers, just 2, 3 or 4 at the most, but 2, right? Boom, back again. How do I keep doing this over and over again? And so I had this first step experience. I'm like, there's no way. Just like when they talked to Bill Wilson, when Dr. Silkworth talked to Bill Wilson, pretty much said, look, unless you're going to be like locked up behind bars or have somebody guard you 24 hours, you're going to die of alcoholism. And that's the reality of my experience. I knew I was a hopeless kind. So if we look in here, let me stay on this step so we can cover this because I don't have we have a lot of time here. Okay, page 86. Well, basically, we got to go back to page 84 really quick. I want to run through this. Step 10, it says, we commence this way of living as we clean up the past. Okay, this is not an overnight matter. It should continue for a lifetime. So the steps, I always hear people say, well, I've been through the steps 1, 2, 3, 5 times. The goal is to live these steps, to make them a working part of my life, right? So I'm going to continue for a lifetime, and I'm going to continue to watch for this selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear, right? A little further down, it gives us a directive. It says love and tolerance is our code. Love and tolerance. If I can get to a place, like if I had to tell somebody that the 3 greatest rewards that I've gotten from recovery were peace of mind and unconditional love for everybody on the planet. Like that doesn't sound like a real reward. But when I have unconditional love, when I have compassion, when I am others-centered, what can I add to their life? How can I be of service to everybody else? And that happens from the transformation from my extreme selfishness, like what's in it for me, to a point to what I can be of service to them. Anyway, there's the shift. And then in the middle of the page, it's easy to rest on, it's easy to let up on our spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels, And that's really... that's what we're talking about in this step 11. So I continue to do this as I go along here. Okay, so at night, really simple. We retire at night. We constructively review our day. Where were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid, right? So these simple questions, I'm gonna constructively look at my day and I'm gonna review it at night. And there's a reason, if you look at these questions, they ask you every one of these questions for a reason, because there's a reward behind it. There's if I am not doing, or there's a punishment behind it, right? If I'm selfish, if I'm being dishonest, if I'm full of fear, my quality of life is horrible, right? Do I owe an apology to somebody? Am I still a tornado sober, right? Should we discuss with another person at once? And this is the line that I picked when he asked me what line. This is it. Were we kind and loving towards all, right? I have a couple guys not everybody comes into AA and has the same mental capabilities, and some people are a little less. And the simplicity of this, this one guy, Billy, I love him still. He's still a great guy. But I like Billy. I'm going to give you one simple thing to do all day. Be kind. Be kind in all your affairs to everybody you meet. Now, if I can apply that to my life and be kind to every single person I meet, I'll never owe an amends. I'll never have any regrets. And all my personal relationships will blossom and I won't have resentments. And so that's really important. So when he asked this question, when I asked this of myself, were we kind and loving towards all? If I'm being honest, I have fallen short somewhere in the day, somewhere. Whether it's a guy in a convenience store, whether it's my wife, whether it's my kids. And so I'm trying to be better tomorrow than I was today, every day growing along spiritual lines, never going to get to spiritual perfection, but constantly improving, right? Trying to hone my skills as a human being and trying to show up as a better person every day. Hopefully tomorrow I'm better than I was today. And that is a beautiful, everything that I've learned in this program, I applied to my personal life. And even my wife, I ask her every single day, is there anything I can do for you today? And the joke is, she says, well, it's not like you're going to do it anyway. I said, listen, it's the thought that counts, right? And that's really, we have a beautiful relationship. My wife's sober 36 years. And we get to do this. She was just having Al-Anon talks with some woman before this. So it's a way of life. We go back and forth. We support each other. We love each other. And we have a pretty beautiful marriage. What could we have done better, right? Looking at this, not to beat myself over this, to embrace my humanness, right? Embrace that I'm not going to be perfect, embrace that I'm going to fall short, and not taking it as a personal, like, oh, I failed again, or I'm a loser, or I can't do nothing right. I have to be able to constructively review this, right? And if you come from like ACA background, ACOA, adult children alcoholics, or dysfunctional family, we're afraid of personal criticism or any type of, if anything, like, I won't take the blame for anything. No. And I'll argue. This is my mindset, right? But this is saying, listen, I have to try to get to a humble place, humble enough to say, okay, where did I fall short? To honestly look at that and say, okay, you know what? I am just I just want to be a human among humans today. I don't want to be a superhuman. I don't have to be perfect. I can just be an average person, okay, living a life, right? Okay, it says, what are we doing? What are we thinking of ourselves most of the time? So now the reason for that too, if you think about that, what is the bondage of self is me thinking about me all the time. Depression is nothing more than me thinking about me all the time. I'm a suicide survivor. I know depression firsthand, to a umpteenth level, to the point where I'm just like, just get off the planet. Ron, you're a burden to everybody, your family, you're just get off. You to humanity, you're a waste of life. And just what is the purpose? You have nothing to give in this world. And this is that depression mindset, consume itself, that I couldn't get out of that, right? And I was thinking of myself, comparing myself, having no faith, no direction, right? The beautiful thing is that people will come and share a message of hope and recovery with us in AA that would change the course of my life. Or were we thinking what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? We must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish my usefulness to others, right? So if I'm thinking about me, I'm consumed with me, I can't go to a meeting and be of service. I got to think about me. I got to talk about me. Let me tell you about my problems. Now, there's a new person dying of alcoholism, drug addiction in the rooms. I cannot be of service if I'm consumed with self. So the importance is to get free of that bondage. And after making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken, right? And it gives us a simple direction. I love on this where it says on awakening, okay? Because I'm like a ship at sea. Whatever direction I put my rudder on, that's usually the direction I'm going to go in for the day or my course, right? So if I get up and start with a little bit of direction, morning prayer and meditation and direction, and looking ahead to the day, what am I going to do? Here's the kicker too, is that you always hear in AA, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans for the day, right? So I have to be free and liquid in life and be able to go with the flow and expect that most things are not going to go my way. And I got to not have a way anymore, because think about this, I'm supposed to be abandoning myself to God, right? Think about the third step prayer, which says, I offer myself to thee, to do with me and build with me. Like that. Think about that. It's asking me to become like an apostle for God and work for God. And like, it's a really high bar. Like, I didn't understand when they said, are you willing to go to Atlanta? So I mean, yeah, like I meant that, but I had no idea what they were talking about. Not that it was a bad thing. I really, truly needed to be all in, right? But I said, yeah, and I was capable of X amount of work at X amount of time. And I came in and I was shot out. Whoa. And they loved me unconditionally. They pulled me into service. They took me through the steps. And they just gave me beautiful fellowship and let me be a mental patient for as long as that takes, right? Think about that. We all walk through the door. You know, my first sponsor used to say, AA is like a mental ward, only we get a day pass out. And anytime that I would go to him and complain about anybody at AA, he would go, let me ask you something. He goes, whoa. He'd go, wait, Brian, what are you telling me? Are you saying that one of the mental patients is acting like a mental patient? And the minute I would get that, I was like, oh, you're right. And I never had a problem with people in AA ever again, because I have a commitment. I always love the commitments in psych wards and prisons and things like that at detoxes. That's truly the heart and soul of my program that I love to do. And when I bring guys and new guys or guys I sponsor into the psych ward, the first thing I ask, like, it could be anywhere from 18 to 36 guys or girls. And I go, who here has been to AA before? And it's always between 75 and 90% put their hands up. I said, that's our future members all here. Now, I was straitjacketed in the mental institute for alcoholic insanity, and I am a mental patient. Technically, I got the papers to prove it, right? But most of our members have either had some kind of psychiatric, you know, we're pretty broken, right? And so we need a power greater than ourselves to restore us to sanity. I got to believe that that's possible. I don't believe I'm insane anymore. Well, that's even insane. The funny thing with my wife, I told my wife, I've done this a lot of times to her, but this is funny. Like a few months ago, she was saying something. I said, you're insane. And she got mad at me. She's like, I am not. I said, let me ask you something. Do insane people know they're insane? And we just bust up laughing, because I don't even realize how insane I am when I come into AA, right? And the newcomer doesn't either. So we have to love them unconditionally, accept them, and say, you know what? I was there. I was just as crazy. I should have been certifiably locked up. And I understand exactly where you're at, and I'm going to help you get through this. Stay with me, right? So on awakening, let's look at the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it's divorced of self-pity, dishonest, and self-seeking motives. Wow, who could do that perfect? I don't know about you guys. Well, the self-pity, if I think about it, I'll get in a little bit of that. Dishonesty, but the self-seeking motives, I mean, I don't know about you, but my default setting is selfishness and self-centeredness, right? Me. And so that is the core of it. Me thinking about me, driven by desires and wants. If I can get free of this, I can be of service. I can be of maximum service. So we're talking about a program that the rewards are an internal feeling, a meaning, a life of meaning and purpose, and the joy of living, right? The joy of living. Now, I don't know about you. I can't buy the joy of living. If anybody here can do it, tell me about it. I can buy stuff. It feels good for 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, maybe I'll even get 5 months out of it. Who knows? But it's just a matter of time before it loses its sizzle and fizzle, right? And I'm bored and on to the next thing. What else do you got? I need a bigger house. I need a bigger car. I need a bigger boat. This helicopter is last year's. Like, where does it end? How much money do you need? And that was one of the greatest things I ever learned. When one of my mentors said to me, you know, like we talk, how much money do I need? And I started thinking about it. I thought it was a number. And I'm thinking, and he said, well, I'll give you the answer right now. It's just enough that you don't need to trust God. I was like, whoa, think about that. I was like, really? And I'll tell you what, I've never had enough money. I don't know about you guys. Anyway, Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance. After all, God gave us brains to use. And I don't know about that sentence. That's a loaded gun there. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. And that sentence, I mean, just highlight that. That has been like the hallmark of my recovery. When my motives change, right? When my existence and my motives change. Okay, I try to teach the guys, it's very simple. When my thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when my thinking is cleared of wrong motives, meaning the wrong motives are the selfish needs, desires, anything aligning with the 7 deadly sins. Greed, envy, lust, jealous, all these things. What happens is I apply this to, like, when I go to a meeting, okay, there was a time when I thought, oh, this meeting's not good, and this one's better, and this is good, and this is bad, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, when my thought life was changed when I came to be of service. When I went to the meeting for the sole purpose to do nothing but be of service to that meeting, the worst meeting in the world, all of a sudden, is the meeting that I can be of most service at. So it becomes the best meeting in the world. It's how I show up to life, right? And so it's all has to do with my motives. Am I still trying to get something out of life, right? And so here's the way I look at it today. You know, I always say, you know, I'm God's favorite. But I'll give you, here's the news, so are you guys too, because we are the chosen few. God led us to AA and these directions, right? So it's up to us to take the actions. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I paid a hell of a price for my seat in AA. There's another price to pay to keep it. And then there's another price to pay for complete freedom and joy and happiness, right? So that's an all-in mindset. And how I was incapable of doing that walking through the door. These instructions seem so hard and so, like, I do this every day. But the more people you work with and the more people you sponsor and you're in this work constantly every day, reminded of it. Yes, I have that kind of mind that I cannot take this. I thought I'm going to, like, come to AA and I'm going to get super sober. I'm going to work really hard. And, like, I'll see you later. I'm going back to my selfish life. I'm in pursuit of my 2 favorite things, sex and checks, right? Romance and finance, man, cash and prizes, baby. That's what I got sober for. And believe me, there's plenty of those people in AA that shared that gave me the motivation, right? You know, they used to kid around at the clubhouse I got sober at. They would say the rewards of sobriety, a house on the hill, a new Seville, 2.5 kids, and money in the bank. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I want, some of them rewards. See, I think it's external. Right? This book said, "Oh, you go in the wrong direction. Your whole life you've been trying to go that direction." Right? The spiritual world is a completely different animal, and it's a hard sell. I mean, who? My wife's like, they should put this on TV. I said, if they put this on a channel, they do. They have some spiritual channels and religious channels, but who's going to watch it? Who's looking for a spiritual way of living? The people that are already living it. They're living it naturally. But the rest of the world, it's a hard sell, unless you got, like, Ferraris and naked women running around and Chippendale dancers. Who's going to tune into that? You throw a couple of them on there, maybe I'll look at it, right? But the spiritual world, the only way I even come to even considering this is the extreme pain and suffering of my alcoholism and the bondage of self, right? So now I go, okay, this hasn't bared fruit this direction, this selfish, self-seeking direction. Let me just try what they are offering here. What can I lose? I always say the book's free. The directions are free. It doesn't cost nothing. And I fought it with every ounce of my being. Like, no, I don't want to be spiritual. I don't want to help other people. And it says in thinking of our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine what course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration, for an intuitive thought or decision. We relax and take it easy. And there, turn that into a question. Am I relaxing? Am I taking it easy? Right? Think about here, we see this all ties into all the steps, especially the inventory. Like a lot of times we go through the steps and we learn the steps and we learn the traditions, and we run around AA telling everybody else where they're falling short in their step work or they're falling short in their traditions. And I found that if I don't apply these 2, Ron, they're worthless. Me studying them, sounding good, oh, that's great, but it ain't going to pay me the dividends. I actually have to live this program. It ain't about talking about it. It's about putting it into action and getting those rewards, right? And it says relax and take. So why wouldn't I be relaxed and taking it easy? Then I'm running on self-will somewhere. I have enormous amounts of fear somewhere. right? So there's more step work to do. Relax and take it easy. Oh, isn't that a beautiful saying? So I always tell people this program is about slowing down. It's not about speeding up. It's about slowing down, getting in the moment, being present, enjoying life, because it flies by in a blink of an eye. You know, I've got all kind of health conditions. I got congestive heart failure, 20% of my heart. I got a pacemaker defibrillator in my chest, 4 stents. I just lost 85% of my motor skills in my right hand. Went through 5 surgeries with that, like almost a year and a half, 2 years ago. That didn't work out. Now I blew my left shoulder out. I can't even lift my arm up. What a mission getting dressed. But my life's amazing. You know, these I can go on. I got a hernia. I got to get operated on. Life on life's terms. God bless me. These are all privileges of being alive. And I'll tell you what, I know a billionaire I would trade places with any of us in this room tonight. Steve Jobs. He's like, listen, I'll take your life, Ron. I'll put all the broken parts and pieces, you know? And so that's the goal, is to be able to enjoy this little bit of time that we have on this earth that goes by so quickly in a blink of an eye. You know, I didn't realize that the longer, I think it's also a part of age. And it's also a part of, you know, in sobriety long enough that it just goes by like blanks, like 5 years go like this, and life is flying by. And, you know, a friend of mine, it's so funny, he posted on Facebook, he celebrated 50 years sober, and he's a good friend of mine. So I put in the comments, I go, I'd rather be 1 year sober and 49 years younger. And we bust up laughing together because it's the truth. Everybody wants to be 50 years sober. Do you want to be 100 years old? No, I want to get back to that young, you know, those early days. These are the greatest days. If anybody's new in sobriety and young, these are the greatest days of your life. They're not going to get too much better. Don't miss them. Enjoy every minute of this, right? We don't struggle. We often surprised how the right answers come. If we tried to do this for a while, what used to be a hunch and an occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. And so as I ask God to direct my thinking, you know, I think in one part of the book where it says, just as we do as we think he would have us do, meaning that I don't even have to know what God is telling me exactly. And I'm quite honestly, I don't believe God ever truly gave me specific instructions, but I understand what I think God would have me do, right? What would the WWJD, right? Like that saying, what would Jesus do? You know, not that I'm a religious guy or anything like that there, but that mindset, what would God do? And then my kids, you never teach an alcoholic, especially me, an old alcoholic, how to make memes. And I put WWRKD, what would Ronnie K do, on some funny meme and send it to my kids. But anyway, I have way too much fun with this. And usually it's fun and games, but I'm trying to be as on topic as I can here. Now, it talks about this. We usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that we be shown all through the day what our next step should be, that we be given whatever we need to take care of such problems. We ask especially for freedom from self-will. How about that? And are careful not to make no requests for ourselves only. And that was another like earth-shattering revelation there, because my childhood conceptions of God was like, okay, pray for stuff. That's what I thought. Like, give me this, God, give me a Cadillac Escalade, give me a supermodel, give me a Ferrari, a gold bar. Like, give me, give me this. Let the stock market go up. But don't let my wife know I'm cheating on her. Don't let her catch the detective, whatever. Like all these things, right? These selfish, self-centered. But it's saying not to ask for anything. So what I truly get from God is not that he corrects my heart. I don't pray and say, God, fix my heart, fix my hand. God, give me the strength to be able to accept life on life's terms, to be able to accept the reality of this and go on. Remove my fear, remove my resentments. Let me enjoy life. I no longer feel like a victim, like God is doing things to me and at me. I lost my mother as a teenager, and that gave me that victim mentality, which really soured me towards a higher power as I walked into Alcoholics Anonymous. So I had a little further journey than most other people. I love how we read the educational experience they're talking about of a spiritual experience. And that was my experience, is that I had to just take these actions on the faith that you guys took these actions and got these results. And when I seen how you guys got results, and am I willing to just do the same thing that the people before me came and did to get those results? Yes or no? Do I want those results? Yes, I do. Okay, well, am I willing to take the actions? Okay. Okay. It's never like, yeah, I'm really excited about doing it. No, this ain't going to work. This is stupid. Everything's stupid. Nothing makes sense in the spiritual world, right? How can me helping somebody else help me? I can't figure this out. How can, working for God, like, I'm thinking in this cult, and I think they're going to make me wear a robe and shave my head. And I said, listen, I'll never shave my head. And that was one of the things. I'll put my foot down right there. Anyway, let's keep going here. Many of us wasted a lot of time doing that, and it doesn't work. You can easily see why. And the best way to define that is to talk about. A friend of mine says, you can lock me in a closet for a couple of weeks and I can pray for a hot dog and I'll probably starve to death. And that defines it. Like, in other words, me praying for stuff, but I've gotten an immense amount of strength and courage and support from my higher power when I need it. And I'm the kind of person that fear is woven all through my body. If I look at myself at any given moment, I'm dying of 4 or 5 different diseases at any given moment. I am. I just, I had this like cut on my head today. I'm like, oh my God, I got brain cancer or skin cancer. Like, everything always goes, oh my God, I'm going to die. God, please help me remove my fear. I've been dying since I was born. This is how I go through life. So it's an automatic where I'm always going to my higher power. Relieve me of these fears. Stop me thinking about me. I know I'm going to be okay. When I had this heart attack in 2014, go to the hospital. There was one doctor, he's working on me. He gets panicky. A second doctor. Then there's 3 doctors. My wife was with me too. Now they're running around like crazy. Now, next thing, my wife gets nervous. And then the next thing, I start to get pretty nervous. I'm like, holy crap, this is it, right? Fear, right? And I said to myself, oh man, I'm ready to pop a gasket right now. I said, look, you guys got to give me 5 minutes alone in this room. They're like looking at me. I'm like, I don't care. Just give me 5 minutes alone. And I took some time. I said, you know what? God, they did. They gave me the time. I said, you've given me a life second to none. And if this is it, if this is the end, then I'm okay with it. And if I get to walk out of here, you have more work for me to do. And I tell you like that, peace and calm. I knew I was going to be okay no matter what. That was the kicker. No matter whether I died right there or I walked out. And that's what God does for me. He doesn't fix the problem, but he helps me be able to live and accept life on life's terms, the realities of life that otherwise would cause me great amounts of distress. I always give the example how everybody here probably seen the movie The Titanic, and the end scene where the boat's sinking and all the people are running around panicking, and the band plays calmly as the boat goes down. Okay, well that's how I can be in life. And I say to people, they both know their fate is going to the icy depths and they're all dying. Do you want to be the person running around screaming and hollering, or do you want to be the calm band playing? I want to be the calm band. A band. I want to have peace and calm. I can't do that on my own power. And this is where this higher power comes into my life. So my externals no longer, the world is not a scary place. Life is not a scary place. Reality is not a scary place. That was my biggest problem. My inability to accept reality. I cannot live on life's terms and accept it without an emotional internal disturbance. And this is why this higher power is crucial in my life. How much more time I got? What does it say? Let's go to the bottom of the page where 87 says, as we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful. Anybody have any trouble pausing when they're agitated and doubtful? Pause after I click. Oh, screen sharing. Oh, 5 minutes. Okay, great, beautiful. Okay, so, and ask for the right thought or action. We constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show. Wow, running on self-will. I'm supposed to be surrender my life over to God. And that happens in step 3. It says there's one requirement to step 3, that we be convinced that a life run on self-will can hardly be a success. And the reality of that is, if I'm not convinced, it's going to take a lot of convincing, meaning a lot of exhaustion, a lot of trial and trying to get my way, right? So if I remind myself I'm not running the show, God is, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, thy will be done We are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, worry, self-pity, foolish decisions. We become more and more efficient. We do not tire so easy, for we are not burning up energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. And that's basically describing a life run on self-will. So am I going with the flow? Am I aligning myself with the energy of the universe, the higher power, God of my understanding, however you want to define that? Am I doing that, or am I still swimming against the current? Am I exhausted? Is life hard? Oh my God, it's so hard. And think about that. That identifies my self-will. And when you're talking about resentments, and I wanted to touch on this real quick, and I'll end up, is that identifying those resentments can be even troublesome for anybody, even people that have been in AA and around steps all the time. But if you make a list of everything that you see wrong in the world, we can go work on that. And so the goal is today, I always tell people, I said, and maybe you guys noticed, anybody here know what the number one problem in the world today is? I'll give you the answer. The fact that people think there's a problem in the world today. Nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Everything is happening exactly the way it's supposed to be. And if I think it's not, I'm playing God and judging. Anyway, thanks for having me. I'm out of time. And Ali, thanks again. And I wish I could go on for days. I hope I covered enough. I squished as much as I could in there.